everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing an informative video, some tips for deciding on how to choose the right laptop way. This video is meant for people who are not so aware of the features to look out for while choosing a laptop. Some of you may already know this, but this video is for those who want to know more about how to choose a laptop. Some of you may require a laptop for minor office work or design work, some for entertainment usage, watching movies, listening to music, browsing, etc. And finally for gaming. So we will first look into some of the overall features you can consider depending on your purpose of use. Before getting into the details, I do have a small request. Do subscribe to our channel as this helps us make more informative videos like this for you. It just requires a click of the subscribe button from you. Thank you, and let's get into it. The first thing that you have to look to is the usage scenario. Is portability important for you? Would you carry the laptop for a long distance? A laptop can almost match a desktop in functionality, but a desktop cannot match a laptop's main advantage, portability. So if you're in architecture field or design work that requires field visits and requires you to work outside the office or home, and portability is an important factor, you have your answer. It is the laptop. But if you're looking for an entertainment laptop, you will need to have portability in mind as well, but can go under 1.8 kilo. Any design laptop can do the job for you, but if you're someone who likes playing games, it would be better to consider a laptop with gaming capabilities, but this may increase the weight. Gaming laptops tend to be the heaviest of the lot due to the increased size of components, especially cooling. They tend to heat a lot while gaming, and hence cooling is an important factor to include, and which makes it a bit heavier compared to other two categories which we talked about. But you won't regret for the performance it provides in the long run. So that brings us to the next point that you have to consider, the sizes or form factor. It's important to choose from the various form factors or sizes which will impact your portability. Couple of options are 13-inch screen is small, 14 to 15 inch is almost medium, and 17-inch screens are very large. If space is a constraint, and most of the time if you're working in library or outside, then the laptop makes sense, which would have a much more smaller screen. 13-inch may be very small but ideal for extreme portability. 17-inch will be apt if you want a big screen to work on and if you don't have an external monitor. 15-inch is the most common and ideal screen size for all usages. So as the size of the screen increases, so does the weight. Now the third thing that you have to look to is the fan noise or the passive cooling that it provides. If presenting with a laptop in meeting rooms and in silence is an important factor for you, you should go for a passive cooling model without big cooling fans. But be aware that the active cooling with more fans will definitely keep your machine cool while you work on CPU core intensive applications. So if you work more on graphic design applications or architecture design applications, it is recommendable to go for a laptop with decent cooling fans. And if you're going to use it for gaming, then it is a no-brainer. You definitely need the laptop with good cooling. But this also increases the weight, as I said earlier. If the performance under heavy load and work are important, then you should consider compromising on the weight. Cooling fans also come with copper pipes, which also increase the cooling, which is where the weight increase also happens. Now the screen is definitely the main area where you look on for long hours. So this is an important area where you also should not compromise. Things that you should consider are the screen technology like LED, IPS or OLED panels, the color coverage, brightness measured in nits, resolution and the refresh rate. So let's look at the first thing. The LED or IPS displays are most common today. They give you the advantage of being able to see the screen even from the sides, called the viewing angles, while OLED or OLED screen is a recent addition and are great screens to look at. It gives you great contrast and colors, and blacks will be perfect black. But earlier OLED technology in TVs had the so-called burn-in effect. But now manufacturers seems to have sorted that out. So if you work in design area or design work, it is better to go for OLED screen laptop, while for other uses IPS screen is enough. If you love watching movies in laptop, OLED is a great option since you'll be get great blacks in pictures, as I said. In terms of the color coverage, you need to look for maximum percentage coverage in Adobe RGB or sRGB, which will be mentioned in the specs. And for video editing, you need to look at Rec 709, Rec 202 or DCI-P3 coverage. So which, as you must have guessed, is more expensive. This is where laptop manufacturers take you for a ride. They provide less coverage in most of the 80,000 INR Indian rupee or below laptops. OLED laptops have some better color coverage, by the way. In terms of brightness, anything above 300 nits is better for indoor use. If you use your laptop outside most of the time, or if you need a fairly bright screen, better to go for anything above 300 nits. Finally, the resolution is something that you have to look out for. Full HD screens, so 1920 by 1080 pixels is the most common nowadays and best for most scenarios. But if you are a designer and need to go for higher resolution, it is good to go for 4K resolution 3840 by 2160 pixels, but this is also very expensive. Now, if you're buying the laptop for gaming, then you need to definitely consider higher refresh rate for the screen. Anything above 120Hz refresh rate is needed. Most gaming laptops high-end will have 144Hz refresh rate, and the expensive ones will have more than that. This is required to avoid the so-called screen tearing effect, which while playing high-end games. Screen tearing happens when the display cannot catch up with the higher frame rates being output by the graphics card while you are playing games. Now, the next fourth thing that you have to consider is the graphics card. If you're going to use the laptop for gaming or for design work, this guy is a must. You need to choose the best graphics card that you can afford to buy at that time. Nvidia makes some of the best graphics card in the market today. The latest ones are the RTX 40 series cards, which you can identify like the RTX 4070, etc. Previous series cards are also good, the RTX 30 and RTX 20 series cards. And yes, the higher the series, the more expensive it will be. For minimal gaming and design work, RTX 20 or 30 series should do fine. If you want the best gaming performance, then go for anything above the RTX 30 series cards. In many design-focused laptop models, manufacturers don't usually provide NVIDIA cards, but Asus does have some models where they have studio-focused NVIDIA cards, which is good. Now, the fifth thing that you have to consider is the processor. Intel and AMD are two giants in the market and who provide processors. Intel with its Core series lineup and AMD with its Ryzen lineup of processors can be found in almost all laptops. If you're seriously using the laptop for design, editing work, I would suggest Intel processors with Core i5 or above. Now, Intel processors are confusing to choose because you will find the same Core i5, Core i7, Core i9 on 2-year-old models as well. So the catch here is to check which generation of your Intel processor belongs to. Currently, it is the 13th generation processor which is running, and you can identify this from the processor name in the model in the specs. It will be starting with the series name. For example, Core i7 will be shown as 13th generation Core i7 processor will be like Core i7 13700K. Now, the last letter is also relevant. If performance is important for you, gaming, editing, etc., better to go for the H series processors. So, for example, 13700H. So you look at the H letter on the last part of the name of the model. Now, the older 12th generation processor models will be priced lesser compared to current 13th generation. The difference here is the improvements in efficiency, mostly power usage. In laptops, that means you'll get marginally better battery life as well. Now, AMD Ryzen laptops are also very capable. If you're not into high-end gaming or work, then it is better to save a couple of bucks by choosing Ryzen series. The latest one is 7000 series, which is good in terms of performance. As usual, better to go for the Ryzen 5 or above processors. Be mindful that if you plan to get good resale value later, Intel processor laptops get good resale value. Now, the next thing that you have to consider is the hard disk, or these days we call SSD. So these days, all these laptops come with solid state drives or SSD than the older hard disk drives or HDD. The SSD offers blazing faster performance with quick booting or startup times and faster opening of applications. If budget is a constraint now, better to go for the ones with a 512 GB SSD, and then you can upgrade later. If you're choosing a hard disk model, go for the ones which have at least 7200 above RPM. Now, in terms of the memory, that is something that you have to look for next. As usual, go for the 16 GB RAM DDR5 memory if you have the budget, as this makes a lot of difference while you multitask or use memory intensive applications like design software and like hard disk. And like hard disk, you can upgrade it later. DDR5 memory will be faster than DDR4, so upgrading from DDR4 to DDR5 memory type may not be possible in the long run because it requires the motherboard change as well. So better to take the DDR5 RAM if you can afford it. Keypad light is the next one option that we tend to forget to look at. Most of us use laptops in the dark rooms or in bed at night, so it's important to have a laptop with a backlit LED keyboard where you can see the keys in the night as well. Expensive gaming laptops will have RGB key light, which means instead of single white light, you'll get rainbow colors which you can adjust with the software. But that's for the people who want fancy look. But do get one which has a simple backlit keyboard. Now the next thing is that you have to look for the battery life. For high-end machines, gaming laptops, this is a weak area. Most laptops won't have anything above 2 hours backup in the long run. So if working on battery is very important for you, better check for the number of cells in the battery specification. So in this battery spec, you would see 3 cell, 6 cell. So the higher the number of the cells in the battery, the better the backup time, as well as, you guessed it, more expensive as well. Now the next thing that a lot of people skip is the webcam in the laptop. So this is also another area where manufacturers cut costs. Better to go for one which has a 1080 or full HD webcam, but this would be a little rare to find in not so expensive models. So 720p webcam would be the easiest one to find in laptops, and it would work fine but may not have great video quality. Now, the last one that you have to look at is speakers. Speakers that are placed downward on laptops perform the worst, since most of us keep laptops on our lap or beds most of the time, and hence the speaker gets covered and the sound gets muffled. So better to check where the speakers are on the laptop. If it is sideways or facing upwards, it will be good. Manufacturers do a lot of marketing gimmicks these days with their speakers, saying their speakers are done in collaboration with Altec Lansing, Bang & Olufsen, etc. I haven't seen much advantages in it other than that they are marketing gimmicks. With my previous experiences, Dell makes some of the better speakers in laptops and trackpads, but they do overprice their machines, which is why I don't prefer Dell much. You get more value for money with other brands there. Anyways, I think we have covered most of the important things to look out for while buying a laptop. To summarize the usage scenario, these are the things that you should look at. 1. For design work, you have to look at the processor, Core 5, i5 or above. 2. Good screen or display, full HD and above resolution, greater than 300 nits brightness, and maximum RGB color coverage is important for a design laptop. 3. Better RAM, 16 GB or higher, and 4. SSD for faster application launches, and 5. Graphics card, NVIDIA RTX series. If you get a studio focused, it is better. Now, second, for people who are looking for office work and entertainment, first, as usual, processor, Core i5 and above. RAM, second, 8 GB or higher. SSD, hard disk, which SSD with a little bit of more capacity, because if you are storing movies after downloading from internet, it would require a little bit of a space. 4 speakers, upward facing speakers with better sound. 5 good screen display, full HD and above resolution, greater than 200 nit brightness is fairly good. Maximum RGB color coverage, and the weight should be between 1.5 to 1.8 kg. Battery life, as I said, more cell battery, the more the better. Now, the last category for gaming people, the first is processor, Core i7 and above. Second, good screen or display, Full HD or above resolution, greater than 300 nits brightness, and maximum RGB color coverage. Better RAM, 16 GB or higher. SSD for faster games or application launches. Graphics card, NVIDIA RTX 30 series and above. 20 series are okay if you're on a budget. So that's it, guys. I hope you have found this video useful. We will have more video like these in the coming days, and product reviews and analysis and how to help you choose products. So do subscribe to the channel and like our Instagram and FB pages for updates. So until next time, this is Junaid signing off for GizMonk.